The rain hammered against the windows of our small apartment in Portland, mirroring the storm brewing inside me. I'm Oswald, 43, a freelance graphic designer. My life, until recently, had been a series of calm, predictable routines. I loved the rhythm of my work, the quiet evenings with my wife, Meredith, and our Sunday morning hikes in Forest Park. We had been married for 15 years, a solid, dependable union built on mutual respect and affection. Meredith was a real estate agent, a sharp, ambitious woman who thrived in the fast-paced world of property sales. I admired her drive, her ability to close deals with a smile. She was always the life of the party, charismatic and engaging, while I was content to be the quiet observer, the steady anchor in her whirlwind life. I was happy, or so I thought. The first crack in our seemingly perfect facade appeared subtly, almost imperceptibly. Meredith started working longer hours, claiming the market was booming and she needed to capitalize on the opportunities. I understood. I'm a freelancer, so I understand the grind. But her late nights became more frequent, her explanations vaguer. Just showing a property to a potential buyer, she'd say, her voice tired but dismissive. You wouldn't understand, Oswald. It's all about timing. I brushed it off, attributing her exhaustion to the demands of her job. I made dinner, did the laundry, and tried to be as supportive as possible. After all, that's what husbands do, right? Support their wives, be there for them, especially when they're stressed. But a nagging feeling persisted, a small voice in the back of my mind whispering doubts I couldn't quite articulate. Then came the phone calls. Late-night calls that Meredith would answer in hushed tones, often stepping out onto the balcony, ostensibly to avoid disturbing me. It strained to hear snippets of conversation, catching phrases like "I miss you" or "I can't wait to see you again." When I asked her about them, she'd become defensive, accusing me of being paranoid and controlling. "It's just work, Oswald," she'd snap. "You're suffocating me." I hated confrontation, so I retreated, burying my suspicions beneath a veneer of normalcy. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that Meredith loved me, that our marriage was strong enough to withstand any challenges. But the doubt lingered, festering like an untreated wound. The final straw came on a Tuesday. I had finished a project early and decided to surprise Meredith at her office with lunch. I knew she had a big presentation that afternoon, and I thought a simple gesture of support would brighten her day. I picked up her favorite sandwich from a local deli and drove to the real estate agency, a sleek, modern building in the heart of downtown Portland. I walked into the reception area expecting to be greeted by Meredith's smiling face. Instead, I was met by a young woman with a bored expression who barely glanced up from her computer screen. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm here to see Meredith," I said, holding up the sandwich. "I am her husband, Oswald." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. "Meredith isn't here," she said. "She's out showing a property." "Oh," I said, feeling a pang of disappointment. "Do you know when she'll be back?" The receptionist hesitated, her gaze shifting nervously. "Actually," she said, "she's been out all morning. She said she had a meeting with a client." Something about her tone, the way she avoided eye contact, set off alarm bells in my head. "Do you know where she went?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The receptionist sighed. "Look," she said, "I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but Meredith's been seeing someone. His name is Silas. He's one of the top agents in the firm." My world tilted on its axis. The blood drained from my face, leaving me feeling cold and numb. "Silas," I repeated, my voice hollow. The receptionist nodded. "They've been having an affair for months," she said. "Everyone in the office knows about it." I stood there, frozen in place, the sandwich clutched in my hand like a lead weight. The reality of Meredith's betrayal crashed over me, shattering the carefully constructed illusion of our perfect marriage. I thanked the receptionist, my voice barely audible, and stumbled out of the office, the rain now a relentless assault on my senses. I drove home in a daze, my mind reeling from the revelation. How could she do this to me? How could she lie to me for so long? The pain was a physical ache in my chest, a crushing weight that threatened to suffocate me. I walked into our apartment, the familiar surroundings now alien and hostile. Every object, every photograph, every shared memory was tainted by Meredith's infidelity. I wandered through the rooms, my gaze lingering on the small details that had once brought me joy. The painting we had bought on our honeymoon in Italy, the bookshelf filled with our favorite books, the cozy armchair where we had spent countless evenings reading together. A wave of nausea washed over me, and I rushed to the bathroom, emptying the contents of my stomach into the toilet. When I finally emerged, my face pale and clammy, I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. I needed to confront Meredith to demand an explanation to understand how she could betray me so cruelly. I waited for her to come home, pacing back and forth like a caged animal. The minutes stretched into hours, each one an agonizing reminder of her deceit. Finally, around 9 p.m., I heard the key turning in the lock. Meredith walked in, her face flushed and her eyes bright. "Oswald," she said, her voice surprised. "What are you doing here? I thought you'd be asleep." "I know," I said, my voice trembling with anger. "I know about Silas. I know about the affair." Meredith's face paled. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "Don't lie to me," I shouted, my voice rising. "The receptionist told me everything. Everyone knows about it." Meredith's shoulders slumped and she let out a sigh. "Okay," she said, her voice resigned. "It's true. I've been seeing Silas." "How could you?" I asked, my voice cracking with pain. "How could you do this to me? To us?" "I don't know," she said, her eyes filling with tears. "It just happened. I was feeling neglected." "Oswald, you were always so focused on your work, so distant." "Silas made me feel alive again, desired." "That's bullshit," I said, my anger boiling over. "I loved you, Meredith. I gave you everything. How could you throw it all away for some cheap fling?" "It wasn't just a fling," she said, her voice defensive. "I care about Silas. I think I might even be in love with him." Those words were like a knife to the heart. I stared at Meredith, my eyes burning with tears of betrayal and rage. "Get out," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Get out of my life." Meredith didn't argue. She packed a bag, her movements mechanical and devoid of emotion. As she walked out the door, she turned back to me, her face etched with sadness. "I am sorry, Oswald," she said. "I never meant to hurt you." I slammed the door shut, the sound echoing through the empty apartment. I sank to the floor, my body racked with sobs. My world had crumbled around me, leaving me alone in the wreckage of my shattered dreams. The days that followed were a blur of pain and confusion. I barely ate, barely slept. I couldn't focus on my work, couldn't find solace in the activities that had once brought me joy. I felt like a ghost, wandering through a life that no longer belonged to me. I consulted a lawyer, a blunt, no-nonsense woman named Guinevere, who advised me to file for divorce immediately. She explained the legal implications of Meredith's infidelity, the potential financial ramifications. I listened numbly, my mind struggling to comprehend the complexities of a world I no longer understood. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I learned more about Meredith's affair with Silas. He was a notorious womanizer, a smooth-talking charmer who had a reputation for preying on vulnerable women. He had been married 3 times and had a string of broken hearts in his wake. The more I learned about Silas, the more I realized that Meredith had been manipulated, seduced by his charm and his empty promises. But that didn't excuse her betrayal. She had made a choice, a conscious decision to betray our marriage, to shatter the trust that had been the foundation of our relationship. One evening, as I was sifting through some old photographs, I stumbled upon a picture of Meredith and me on our wedding day. We were young, happy, and full of hope for the future. I stared at the photograph, my heart aching with a mixture of sadness and regret. What had gone wrong? How had we allowed our love to fade, to be replaced by deceit and bitterness? As I gazed at the photograph, I noticed something I had never seen before. In the background, standing near the edge of the frame, was Silas. He was smiling, his eyes fixed on Meredith with a predatory gleam. It was a chilling reminder of his manipulative nature, his long-term plan to seduce and destroy. A wave of anger washed over me, but this time it was different. It wasn't the blind, uncontrolled rage I had felt in the immediate aftermath of Meredith's betrayal. This was a cold, calculating anger, fueled by a desire for justice. I decided to investigate Silas's business dealings, to uncover the truth behind his success. I hired a private investigator, a discreet, efficient man named Bartholomew, who specialized in exposing corporate fraud. Bartholomew delved into Silas's financial records, his real estate transactions, his personal history. What he discovered was shocking. Silas had been engaging in a series of illegal activities, including money laundering, tax evasion, and property fraud. He had been using his charm and his connections to exploit vulnerable clients, lining his pockets at their expense. I presented the evidence to the authorities, who launched a full-scale investigation into Silas' business empire. Within weeks, he was arrested and charged with multiple felonies. His reputation was ruined, his career in tatters. Meredith was devastated. She had believed Silas' lies had been blinded by his charm. She realized that she had been a pawn in his game, a victim of his manipulative schemes. She reached out to me, begging for forgiveness. She claimed that she was sorry for her betrayal, that she had made a terrible mistake. But I couldn't forgive her. The trust was gone, the love had died. There was nothing left to salvage. The divorce was finalized, and Meredith was left to face the consequences of her actions. She lost her job, her friends, and her reputation. She was alone, ostracized by the community she had once thrived in. I, on the other hand, began to rebuild my life. I focused on my work, rekindled old friendships, and started exploring new hobbies. I joined a hiking club, took a pottery class, and even tried online dating. It wasn't easy. The scars of Meredith's betrayal ran deep, and I knew it would take time to heal. But I was determined to move forward, to find happiness again. One day, as I was hiking in Forest Park, I met a woman named Guinevere. She was kind, intelligent, and compassionate. We struck up a conversation, and I found myself drawn to her warmth and her genuine interest in my life. We started dating, and soon I realized that I was falling in love again. Guinevere was everything Meredith wasn't: honest, supportive, and unconditionally loving. She helped me to heal from the pain of my past, to trust again, to believe in the possibility of a happy future. I eventually remarried, and Guinevere and I built a beautiful life together. We traveled the world, shared our dreams, and supported each other through thick and thin. I finally found the happiness I had been searching for, the love that had eluded me for so long. Looking back on my marriage to Meredith, I realized that it was a valuable lesson in life. It taught me the importance of trust, honesty, and communication in a relationship. It also taught me that even the deepest wounds can heal, that even the most devastating betrayals can be overcome. I have no regrets about the choices I made. I am grateful for the lessons I learned, and I am thankful for the love I found with Guinevere. My life is now filled with joy, peace, and happiness. And that, I believe, is the ultimate revenge.